Welcome back to another episode of the Wrinkly Brain Podcast. This is a Smooth Brain EDH affiliated podcast where we like to goof, gaff, and talk about the Commander format. I'm your host Jason, joined today by my co-host Ethan.
Hello.
Now, Cameron is out this week, so you won't get to hear his lovely voice, but the good news is we're here anyway, and we're here to talk to you about Planeswalkers as Commander, and by extension, Oathbreaker, the newly WotC-endorsed format.
Yeah, we're doing that.
Now, small word of warning, once we do get to talking about Oathbreaker, Ethan and I have each only played like 3 or 4 games. You've done 2, I've played a few more. We haven't played that much. We have much more experience playing Planeswalkers as commanders than playing actual factual Oathbreaker. So, once we get to the Oathbreaker section, take everything with a grain of salt on this. We wish we had more experience before we started talking about it, but, content must be made.
Exactly.
And if you're here just for the Oathbreaker stuff, you'll want to skip ahead to the English is a hard language, kids.
Very.
If you're here just for Oathbreaker, you'll want to skip ahead to the timestamp that's on screen. God, that's actually a hard thing to say. Timestamp on screen. Timestamp on screen. Saying that like 5 times fast, that's hard. Anyway. For our audio-only listeners, it'll be around 30 minutes into the podcast, probably. I don't know. We're spitballing that.
We'll figure it out.
Apologies. But yeah, we're here. Let's just jump right into it. So, Planeswalkers as commanders. This is often a variant that some people will play with, where they'll allow any Planeswalker to be their commander, and there's only, 18 or 19 that can be your commander.
It's a larger number than expected, but not a whole lot. They first started with the C14 commanders, the monocolored ones. They tried to get in 2018 with the multicolored ones, like Windgrace to Healy. And they sprinkled a few here and there. They had a few from Baldur's Gate. They had Tavesh and Jessica from Commander Legends 1. And they also had Dahada from the Dominaria United commander deck. I don't think I'm missing any with that generalized grouping.
The only other one that is Will and Rowan Kenrith from
those crap ones, yeah.
We'll talk about the bad ones later.
We'll get there.
So yeah, these are Planeswalkers. We're gonna start with talking about the ones that specifically have the, you may play these as your commander rules text. The first question on this, Ethan, are these cards balanced for commander?
So when I main when I played of this was like Windgrace. When I played Windgrace, everyone complained about Windgrace, but I still think it's balanced because when I look at the Planeswalker commanders, you essentially are playing a spell. You're not like an instant or sorcery. You're playing a sorcery because you're not playing a creature that can stick around. You're playing a Planeswalker people can actually attack, and the likelihood if it's a powerful Planeswalker for surviving a turn cycle is not very high unless you're having a lot of things to protect it. So for me, like with Windgrace, it was a play -3, get 2 lands back. Cool. And then I'll cast them for 2 extra mana the next turn, do the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. It was just playing it more as a sorcery there. When you commit too much to like keeping your Planeswalker around, you're really skewing how you build your deck. And I think that's okay. That makes it balanced. It's not just I play this Planeswalker, I win. I can't think of a single Planeswalker commander that just is an I win button.
No, none of the legal Planeswalker commanders are easily that, and even of the ones that aren't legal Planeswalker commanders, like, there's very few that I look at and would say, like, oh, that's broken in any sense. Mm-hmm. Similarly, I'll answer the question now. They're in the not overpowered sense, yes, they are balanced. But there's a very big caveat that we'll get to when talking about this, and it really does influence how fun they are to play.
Yeah.
So, are Planeswalkers as commanders fun? Yeah, they can be.
I think so. It's a nice change. When you've played Commander for years and it's always creatures, having just something different to try out is fresh. It's renewing. Granted, all of them do slightly different things too, so you have your choice of 18. They kind of all do different things, so it's fresh.
Mm-hmm. Right. But the big thing about them that I'm generally of the opinion that they're not particularly fun, because it's, as you mentioned, the way you treat them is if your commander is a sorcery, which is in commander that is very accurate because it is so hard to find a good Planeswalker that is mostly self-sufficient in a 4-player game, right? 3 people just have to look at your Planeswalker and say, I don't want that in play, and apply pressure to it.
Mm-hmm.
Which means you either have to build up a massive board to enable now having a Planeswalker, which is a value engine, right? You think of them as sorceries, I think of them as enchantments. They're enchantments that you can attack.
Yeah.
You know, that makes them really weak the more players there are. So it's really hard to have Planeswalkers that are designed for Commander to be pretty good commanders.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so far, talking about the like really good Planeswalkers as commanders, there's only 2 that I come to time and time again, and I think these are actually really good Planeswalkers as commanders. And it's Minsk and Boo, Timeless Heroes.
Oh, yeah, I forgot those exist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Aminato.
So I am curious, the few that I would think, like, why not Windgrace in that list?
Windgrace costs 5 mana and is very easy to attack down.
It does uptick to 7, though, which
Still
does help
easy.
it second. Fair.
It's still easy to attack down.
The thing that we also have to consider here is also pod composition and playgroup composition. Like, if you're playing a playgroup that is kind of sit back and everyone has to have their fun, you can play a Planeswalker if no one's swinging at it, or you can politic your way out of getting swung at.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. But if you're in a pod that's like, cool, we're going to skate fast and eat ass, and we're going to not, like, slow down at all, is going to die, which is what we're more so used to.
Right. Which, yeah.
But
we tend to play at higher level pods, right? Higher power pods. So it's very, very hard for a Planeswalker to even sit around. But even at the lower levels, right? It's very funny how often I'll be playing like the lowest of low level stuff, and somebody will say, well, I don't want to attack because I don't want to make enemies, but the second you play a Planeswalker, they go, it dies.
Yeah, because it's not your life total.
It's not your life total. They don't view it as a problem. They killed your permanent, and they're like, I don't see what's wrong with that.
It's an enchantment with that you can attack. It's very granted. We have battles coming up soon, which that's a whole thing. So,
right.
Other debate. Anyway, so Windgrace is the one that I think is pretty good, but also like Doretius for Savant. I'm biased. I like these commanders, but I think that one's pretty good.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there aren't other ones that are pretty solid, like that can actually do their thing and do pretty well, like Freyalise, for example.
Yeah,
I think the Freyalise is actually a pretty strong commander overall. But the reason why Aminato and Minsk and Boo come up for me time and time again is, so with Minsk and Boo, it's very easy for you to have a board state and get him out on turn 2 or like turn 2, turn 3. And he's already ready to be protected because he just keeps making scaling threats. And if you need to play him as a sorcery, you just kill off your Boo. Like, say you have a 4/4 Boo and you draw 4 cards, and you're like, all right, cool. Minsk and Boo is no longer my primary strategy. I'm just going to kill you with these big trampoly things. Works out pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but it works out pretty well. Aminato is the other one I come back to because she's 3 mana and she's a blink commander.
Yeah.
They're already playing a long game that's very defensive. Aminato can make things happen. It's not that Aminato's that powerful. It's everything else in the deck happens to enable what makes that powerful.
Wait, so you're saying you don't play Aminato as a Miracles deck?
No.
Jason, the designers of WotC, they built that deck like that for a reason. You're spitting in their face. It's not terrible or anything.
Nah, you can play Aminato as Miracles. It's a decent, like, mid-low power deck, right?
Yeah. Best way to build its blink from experience.
Yeah, I mean, the second that you introduce Gilded Drake into the equation with Aminato, things get crazy.
Lord. Oh.
Like,
oh.
Yeah, you want to talk about actually being able to defend your commander now? There it is.
You're right, yeah.
I
mean, other ones that protect itself, like Saheeli, the Gifted, that one, I believe, makes a Thopter on uptick, right?
It does.
It can at least help stem the bleeding. Windgrace, if you build your mana base right, you can play things like Maze of Ith, Labyrinth of Scophos, things to help protect your Windgrace.
Right.
But again, that's when you're, in the Windgrace scenario, you're building your deck around protecting your commander more so than playing it as you would a creature. Like, it's not just a value piece like a Corvold or a Chulane that's going to sit there and just, you play it and you accrue value.
Right. Which, there's such a fundamental difference in how deck building has to work for a Planeswalker deck versus a regular commander deck, right? Like we mentioned before, you play more board wipes, you play more value pieces. The Flicker deck enables a Planeswalker commander because you're already trying to do a really long value game. So Aminato will get value eventually. And similarly, when you're building a deck that has a Planeswalker the commander, you just need to be doing things to protect them more. Like, whenever I build a normal commander deck at this point, I only include a handful of protection spells.
Like, maybe it's Fairy's Protection, maybe.
A few counter spells, maybe something that gives indestructible to my board. Lightning Greaves.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be that Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots were in every single one of my decks. At this point, I'm about 50-50 on whether or not I include a Lightning Greaves in a casual deck.
Yeah, honestly, that's a good point. I used to throw them in like every deck, like in 2018, 2019. Nowadays, it's just not worth it because you're taking your turn off to pay 2 or 3 mana to give your commander protection.
Yeah.
And granted, it's important. Depends on the deck. If your commander needs to be on the field for your deck to actually function, then sure. But past that, if you can just recast it the next turn, like, who cares? Right.
The perspective of, if I need my commander to be into play multiple turns, I will include more protection. Mm-hmm. That is fundamentally the case. That is the same for Planeswalkers. You have to let them be in play for multiple turns. So that changes things immensely in how you build your deck, because now, instead of it being I can just include a Lightning Greaves and like a couple of protection spells that I wanted to play anyway, it's now I need to start playing very specific propaganda effects that specify that you can't attack my commander, or I need to be playing ways to get very big butt creatures in the way to defend against what's happening here, or I need an extra number of board wipes than I would normally play just to keep clearing the board time and time again.
So you're saying Eidolon of Destruction is going to be the next commander staple, right?
Oh, Eidolon of... Yes, absolutely. God, I really wish that card had gone somewhere, because that actually seems like a pretty neat card, but nope.
Nope.
No, just taxing loyalty abilities is not good enough.
Darn. Well, also, am I thinking the wrong one? I think of the one that, no, there's another one I'm thinking. Is it? I thought of the wrong card. I was thinking the one that makes it where your Planeswalkers can't attack, or you can't tap Planeswalkers or whatever, as you pay 1. Is that Baird? Is the new Baird from Dominaria?
Oh, Baird, Steward of Archive?
Yeah, that one. Is that one specify Planeswalkers?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so sorry, I got my shitty white mana, like shitty white hate bears mixed up. Apologies, lampoon me in the comments. I'm happy to remember Eidolon of Destruction from Theros Beyond Death? Question mark? Is that okay? Cool. I just got the set right.
Good job. You got your Magic trivia right for the day. But yeah, like the number of cards you have to commit to protecting a Planeswalker is really hard to do. Yeah, and they also tend to be higher mana value.
They are, and also. Personal opinion, is it fun to have a strategy where you're just trying to play a permanent, protect it, and then everyone's going to target it, and then it's destroyed? I've had a lot of games where it's like, cool, I'm going to play this Duretti and just discard cards, or, hey, I'm going to get back, like, this Mana Rock. And everyone's like, okay, cool, Duretti's a threat. Like, I'm not done jack all with it. Why am I getting hated? Like, it's your point of everyone doesn't see it as a life total, they just see it as a permanent they can destroy.
Yeah. And to be fair, like, I'm not saying that playstyle's not fun. I play Kalia on the regular, right?
Like, you are a bad person. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have a single commander that I have to protect so that I can start getting the value. Once she gets like 2 attacks in, I'm good for the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. Usually because I can get more attacks in because I've guaranteed more protection. But that's not the point. And this is just the case with all of these Planeswalker commanders. And we'd mentioned, like, there's a couple of really good ones. There's also a lot of really bad Planeswalker commanders where they're just not worth it.
Yeah. Do we want to go down the list? Do we have the list? Because, like, the ones I can think of 2014, the Nahiri and the Obnix are bad. I played the Nahiri pre-con. It does nothing.
I should have mentioned this. The history of, like, what commanders we've actually played that are... Planeswalker commanders. Ethan, you've played Saheeli and...
I actually haven't played Saheeli. I cannot find a copy anywhere, and I just haven't built a deck with it yet. I played the pre-con, or I think I played at LGS, like some guy had a spare deck and I have a deck, so I played it once, and like I did Dark Steel Force for 0 mana, and then I lost the game like the next turn, because Commander. So I played a game of that, but I built Windgrace multiple times. I played on the channel. I popped off like on turn 3. I had like 10 lands in play. People were upset in the comments. Sue me. And then it was really cool. Duretti, I've also played on the channel. Those are the main ones. I played Freyalise. I had the Precon. Worked on that a little bit with my ex. I helped her build that deck, and then hey, it's mine now. So past that, I can't think of really any other ones that I've really messed with a whole lot. I've always wanted to, but just trying to find them or just they haven't really interested me a whole lot. I want to build Will and Rowan Kinrith because I just want to do Is It Super Friends, but like they're bad.
Yeah,
they are active. They're not meant for Commander, okay? They're not.
No, they really aren't. Those ones were designed for two-headed giant battle bond limited, and then they just like, well, you can play them as commanders because they have the partner with.
They're not breaking the format for sure because for 6 mana for each of them, and they don't protect themselves, it's terrible.
But yeah,
what have you played, commanders?
So I also had the Nahiri Precon. And I had the Duretti Precon. Both of those decks were ones that I kept for a couple of years. Like, I think I kept each of them for about 1.5 to 2 years before converting them over into something else. My Nahiri deck eventually became an Elish Norn deck. That was fun. And the Duretti deck eventually became a Purphoros deck.
Gotcha.
In both cases, I just found that the Planeswalkers weren't doing it. They weren't doing enough. Yeah. I didn't actually really enjoy playing the Nahiri one, but it just wasn't doing enough.
No, I've got Nahiri pulled up right here. Like, Uptick does protect itself.
For all the audio listeners, this is Nahiri the Lithomancer, 5-mana commander, mono white.
Thank you, Jason. I worry that people don't have eyes. Yeah. So the Uptick +2 creates a 1/1 core, and you can attach equipment to it for free. The -2 of putting equipment into play from your hand or graveyard is recursion. That's pretty important. But then, like, the ult, what are you doing with the ult? Like, cool, you make the Stoneforge Blade.
Yeah, it's like gives 5/5 indestructible and double strike.
Nope. It's just double. The equipment itself has indestructible.
That was it.
But the equipment only gets +5 and double strike.
But is it equip 0, right?
It is equip 0.
Yeah.
But, like, you're already doing an equipment strategy. You're going to hopefully have, like, Brass Squire, Sigarda's Aid, other ways to reduce or free equip. Like,
to be fair, when I had this deck, we didn't have all of those. Sigarda's Aid did not exist.
Sigarda's Aid didn't exist. Pure Steel Paladin did. Brass Squire did. But, like, those weren't really common. And also, I've got to think about 2014 Commander, not 2023 Commander. Different universes.
Oh, yeah. This deck has probably gotten much better since then with all of the free equip stuff, but at the same time, we're talking about, in my Nahiri deck, I'll play Arden or I'll play Halvar, and it's like, why not just play Halvar or just play Arden?
Yeah. It's just because you like the commander, but then it comes to the issues with Planeswalker commanders. Like, the other thing we haven't really talked about too much is, let's talk about the ones we said were good. That you said were good were Minsk and Boo and Onomatu.
Yeah.
Onomatu's a 3-drop.
Yep.
So pretty easy to get out. And Minsk and Boo is a 4-drop when you're playing green. So also easy to get out. Like turn 2, latest turn 3.
You get it out on turn 3 very easily.
Yeah. Like, looking at their CMCs, it's like mana values, gotta get with the times. There's not that many 6-drop ones. It's the Will and Rowan Kinriths, so hence why they suck. Teferi, Temporal Archmage, that's a 6-drop, but that's fine. And these are the only ones that are 6-drops. The rest of them are like 5-drops.
Yeah. Most of them are 5s and 4s.
Yeah, but also like the mana costs are like restricted on colors, so it can be a little bit difficult getting those out early games. So like, with Jared Carthalion, whatever you want to
Jared Carthalion, our new rainbow one.
Yes, the Wooburg one. That one is it is just all 5 colors in the mana cost, so like can be hard to get that mana available. Compared to like a Jessica, which is 2 in a red. Yeah. Very easy to cast, especially in red. And that's actually another one we didn't mention. That one's really good.
So I was specifying, I wanted to talk about partner ones slightly separately because they
put all the script in, Jason. Ugh.
Sorry. I wanted to talk about Minsk and Boo and Aminato separately because they are your only commander, right?
Yeah.
In the case of Jeska and Tevishsat, in a nutshell, they are significantly better than both of those commanders I just talked about. But they also have another commander that gets to support them, and they are self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So, it's not like Tevishsat easily wins the game on his own, but he protects himself by making 2 bodies and draws cards. These are all positive things that you're doing, and if you do get the ultimate down, it doesn't end the game, but it interacts with your opponent so hard that in many ways it does end the game.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of things, Jessica's weird. Like,
yeah.
she is really good, but she's also not really good, so it's very interesting. You just have to have the right partner pairings with her.
You can't build her casually, I feel like, because
you can.
I have not found a good way to do that. Either you're playing her a lot and you're just trying to make a lot of mana to cast her, then cast her, then cast her, or you're going to use it to alpha strike and get someone out really quickly, with like Ishai or with Dargo to alpha strike people with commander damage.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I've really seemed to found to build with Jessica as like an infinite mana outlet with like Dargo, or just to play a quick Dargo and 21 someone like on turn 3.
Yeah, there's definitely ways to build her that would be more fun in like the strictly casual sense, but
I just feel like at that point you're building the other commander and just using Jessica for colors and like I guess to pick off removal, like pick up as a removal piece.
Right.
But past that, it's just like,
But at the same time, when we talk about very powerful sorceries, she is a very powerful sorcery to have as your commander.
Yeah.
So
I feel like casual level Kedis probably just fits that role better if you're trying to do a lot of damage with combat, which is her 0 ability. Compared to Kedis, which you're just going to spread out the damage to everybody.
Yeah.
That seems probably better.
Yeah, they do different things. I'm wondering if there's because Jessica doesn't have a way to gain loyalty. I'm wondering if there's a
cast it again.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's a fun way that you can do, like with all the new proliferate stuff in blue and green. You could either do something like, I don't know, if we just need to grab Sakashima or something and just partner there, or partner with some green commander and do some cool counter stuff. But either way, the build for Jessica would have to be avoiding casting her an infinite number of times, which is how you just fireball win with her. But
you're making me have ideas for blue Jessica though as Planeswalkers, with Sakashima making the Planeswalkers creature with Luxior and then copying them. Would that work?
I've made a mistake.
I mean, I was already wanting to do this deck anyway, just with bad commanders. Now you make me think about it with good commanders. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
That or at least copy like what's the 3 mana when you cast a non-creature spell proliferate in blue.
Are we talking about the Ichor-Moon Gauntlet, or are we talking about Inexorable Tide at 5 mana?
No, we're talking about the creature one that's from War of the Spark.
Oh, Flux Channeler.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
That card's very good.
That card is very good. Imagine 3 of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Cast your Planeswalker, and then you proliferate 3 times on your Planeswalker starter on the field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Secret Commander Flux Channeler.
This is why we're here, so I can get deck ideas. This is what we has our content going.
All right. But moving on to talking about more of these bad ones.
They're so bad.
Yeah, like
they're so bad.
Like the core thing that you need out of a good Planeswalker commander is it needs to have scaling to multiple opponents, and it needs to be able to protect itself, and it needs to be able to win the game if you do happen to get the ult, because it's so hard to get it. Obnixilis of the Black Oath, I think is the name of it. Like,
let me go back to Gatherer. I have Gatherer up for this, not Scryfall. Sue me. Obnixilis of the Black Oath. You are correct.
Yeah, like he doesn't do it. His ultimate does not win the game. He just doesn't deal enough damage. The demon that you make is nice, but that's about it. Then we got like Savitri.
I forgot this one existed. All right,
you should.
Hey, now they tried. Like,
did they?
I admire what they're trying to do with this. So it's a 4-drop, 2 colorless, a blue and a black. Comes with a 4 loyalty, uptick. Until your next turn, creatures can't attack your Planeswalkers you control unless their controller pays 2 life for each of those creatures. So, Norn's Annex, essentially.
Yep.
But Norn's Annex is bad.
Yes.
From personal experience, I've tried. It's bad. unless you have a playgroup that's like really like stingent on life, but if you're with an experienced playgroup, they understand life is a resource and they're willing to spend it in order to kill the Planeswalker. The -3 is a tutor, but tutors are cringe, so we don't play those. And then the -7, which you're 4 turns off of, is just destroy all non-dragon creatures. So sure, it's a one-sided board wipe, but after 4 turns of Planeswalker, you could be winning the game, not just killing the board.
Correct. So, yeah, this doesn't do much, and trying to play blue-black dragons just doesn't work very well. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Silumgar, but you're not that good.
No, I admire the design space because like you don't think of dragons as a blue-black thing; it's more like a red-green kind of vibe. Because like there's a lot of those.
It just is more of a red-green thing.
But I'm not going to tell anyone to not build Savitri because if they want to do it, go for it. It's cool. Don't expect the best results. Silumgar the Drifting Death is probably better, right? Is it Drifting Death? And bringing my Collins Dragons?
No, that's the one from Fate Reforged. Silumgar the Drifting Death is the one from Fate Reforged.
That's the one that gives -1/-1 for each dragon attacking, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remembered.
Yes, it has hexproof as well.
Oh, it has hexproof?
Yeah.
Why would you play this over Silumgar?
I don't know.
Like you might play Savitri in your maybe in your Silumgar deck.
Yeah.
Because like it's a tutor, but you're already in black. You have better.
Yeah.
I would just rather play Demonic Tutor or like Diabolic Tutor.
Yeah, exactly. So like Savitri just doesn't offer much of anything. She also defends herself very poorly.
Yeah.
And similarly, and this is going to be a controversial one. Tasha is a terrible planeswalker for a commander. Fight me.
I want to fight you on this one a little bit because. So it's not Prosper levels of casting a lot of cards from exile or Faldorn levels casting a lot of cards from exile because the red effects in those decks really help you power out exiled cards.
Well, also because it's from your deck as opposed to your opponent's ones. This
is fair point. It's a spell you don't own. So the cards that do this effect, like on top of my head, like Mind's Dilation. It's slow. It's great. I love that card. It's slow.
Hey,
you have to
hold on for the class.
Yep.
Tasha the Witch Queen, 5 mana in Dimir, 4 loyalty. Whenever you just has a static ability of whenever you cast a spell you don't own, make a 3/3 black demon creature token. And then a +1 for draw a card for each opponent, exile up to 1 instant or sorcery from that player's graveyard and put a page counter on it. And then -3 is you may cast a card from among the cards exiled with page counters on them, and you pay it without paying its mana cost. Has to be instants and sorceries. Has to have already been exiled with a page counter. Just to get 1/3/3 every other turn while net losing loyalty.
You make very valid points here. May I counter argument?
Sure.
With if you have Tasha, you have Phyrexian or Ashnod's Ultra, probably Phyrexian, and you have Mnemonic Betrayal. You get to have a lot of fun.
Yes. That is the setup that you need to do the really cool stuff.
Yes, if you have like 15 mana permanents, then yes, you can start having fun and casting Ops over and over again.
Not going to deny, that is certainly something that she's able to do. But again...
But should you?
She is a commander who, when she comes down, has no ability to protect herself immediately. Not unless you had already previously cast her and gotten a page counter with an instant sorcery that you care about getting. Not that you took some random instant or sorcery that doesn't do much in your deck. You grabbed a Naturalize or whatever and just played it. You know, you need to be grabbing the board wipes, or you need to be getting something that's way more impactful to protect Tasha. And even then, remember the whole bit I mentioned about she's gaining 1, losing 3? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. With a starting loyalty of 4, if you have her in play for 4 turns and don't proliferate her once, she kills herself.
Huh. Noted.
So, even then, she doesn't even stick around for very long, and we're in blue-black, so we don't have the best mana. You know, we have Dark Ritual and Cabal Ritual to accelerate out, but we don't have a whole lot of stuff. Like, blue's contributing very little to accelerating her at 5 mana. Yeah. So you're trying to play a control game. This is so hard to make work. Matt hates
You have to build your deck completely around it. Like, you have to build your deck completely around it with like effects like Thief of Sanity, which lets you play cards off your opponent's decks, Gonti, Lord of Luxury, so a bunch of steal effects. Mnemonic Betrayal is a good example. But you have to do that so much where you're just devoting your entire strategy around that. And the only value you're really getting by doing this is a 3/3 demon. Is it worth the work?
Yeah.
If you like Tasha and you like making demons,
yeah,
sure.
It's really not worth it. And moving on in the same area, because this is also the same set, was it not? Elminster.
It was the same set. Commander
Yeah.
Legends Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. Elminster is also not very good, because
Okay, I want to
clunky.
build
He
him.
real clunky.
I know he clunky, but like, let me counter argument with say, Scry.
Eh.
Does that change your mind?
Eh.
Damn, I tried.
It's not
I
a
like the
four-card
design
thing.
space though.
I don't hate it
I
either.
think that
I think it's neat.
I think it's really neat. I agree. Like, it's a 5-drop commander, which is like you're in blue white, so you're not really getting ramp colors. So you're getting this out maybe turn 4 if you have like an arcane signet or something out, right?
Yeah.
It does protect itself. It does refill, like it does get you card advantage, right? And it does make your things cheaper pretty much immediately, right? Unless you remove Elminster immediately in response to you activating the ability. Because your first instant sorcery after that costs 2 less, right?
By the way, Elminster is a 5-mana planeswalker.
I keep on forgetting to read the damn cards! I'm sorry to everyone that's just listening. Forgive me, Jason, for I have sinned.
5-mana planeswalker, enters with 5 loyalty, so good starting loyalty, but 5 mana. Whenever you scry, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less to cast, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. Notably, if you had like 1 card in your deck and you scryed 3, you'd only look at 1 card, but that's like weird. Has a +2. Again, we're bumping up to 7 loyalty right away, not too bad. Draw a card, and then scry 2. Welcome to Serum Visions. Downtick is the cool thing that you're doing with this guy, which is exile the top card of your deck, create a number of 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature tokens with flying equal to that card's mana value.
It does protect itself if you go immediately to the -3. Sure.
Correct, and you can set that up. It's not too hard when you're playing your big scrying deck to set up Elminster immediately protecting itself. But your payoff's a bunch of 1/1s, and 1/1s are pretty easy to remove. They do fly, though.
Yep. Unless your opponent's playing a board wipe. Who's playing Electrickery, really, in Commander? Okay?
Oh, no one, but I'm playing Kelsian.
Hey, Jason. You're a great person, but you're being a bad person.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Like, Elminster's one of those ones that's like, he's not the worst, but
he's not great.
Yeah, because like one of the huge problems is if you're exiling your best card because it's a big mana value spell instead of just casting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, why do we want to do that? And especially if it's like, oh, well, I can get rid of this Dig Through Time, which is a really, really powerful card. And it's like, yeah, or you could just cast your Dig Through Time, find better cards to cast, and not worry about playing your Elminster. The number of times I've seen people downtick with Elminster and exile just nothing off of the top, myself included, because I played this card in Limited one time.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I did 3 drafts. 3 drafts of this set, and one of them was Minsk and Boo, one of them was Elminster.
Nice!
So,
you had the highs and the lows.
It's like, alright, yeah, Minsk and Boo, that slapped. Elminster did not slap.
Yeah. Okay, but like, counter argument, I love how they have blue Dark Ritual with Mystic Speculation in this deck, which is a 1 blue with buyback 2, but 1 blue to scry 3.
Oh, that thing. Yeah, sure.
I love Dark Ritual at sorcery speed in blue.
That's,
all right.
Okay, that's cool. I won't deny that.
I like it for the fact that you can do just random stuff like that, or just like there's a bunch of random effects that like scry, and also Storm Herd is a quote unquote playable card in this deck because it's a 10 mana card you can exile with Elminster.
It's actually very playable because even if you just
it is like
and then you
2
just
mana
cast the Storm Herd.
Like
you're trying to do things with 1/1 flyers anyway, so like it's not bad.
Jason, am I building this deck now? Because I'm like looking at EDH.
I don't know. Ask Matt. He already has it built.
Yeah, that's the reason I haven't built it yet. Because that person built it, and I was like, I didn't know. I was like, hey, I'm gonna build this. Like, oh, I built it yesterday. Yeah,
you jerk. But yeah,
rage.
Those are kind of our top picks for like the bad ones, and obviously, we're not that high on Planeswalkers as commanders because of their inherent weaknesses. You know, they're very easy to attack down. They don't accrue a lot of value right away, especially because most of them are built for 60 card constructed. We didn't even talk about some of the like not Planeswalkers. Like you can't actually have them as your commanders, but they are built with multiplayer in mind, like Teferi, Master of Time.
That one is really good.
Yeah, the 4 mana mono blue Teferi that lets you activate loyalty abilities of him at instant speed, so you can get one on every player's turn. So he just accrues, he ticks up so quickly to his ultimate, which takes 2 extra turns, or a extra turn, one of the two, I don't remember. Either way, right? Like it's able to do that, and this is where we would say like, oh, some of those commanders or some of these other planeswalkers actually make decent commanders, right? Mm-hmm. That one being one of the best. Sticking on the Gruul train, I would also say that Domri, Anarch of Bolas, is an extremely good commander if you can play it.
Let me look what that one does, because I do not recall.
I can just say it from memory.
Good boy.
Well, actually, I'll forget his starting loyalty. I think it's 4. But he's a 3-mana planeswalker who gives all of your creatures +1/+0. He upticks to make a red or green mana and makes it so your creature spells can't be countered this turn, and then downticks to have a creature you control fight another creature.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, cool. I went on Scryfall, and we're recording this April Fool's Day. Scryfall has Yu-Gi-Oh cards on it.
Yes,
I just found this out. I saw the Max C, and I could not process what I saw for a second. But yes, Dominate Anarch of Bolas. That is what that reads.
Mm-hmm. Was it right? It was a 4 starting loyalty.
Let me. I'm going on Scryfall. They still at least have magic cards. It is actually 3. It's 3.
Oh, it's 3 starting loyalty. I was close.
It's the buff, the add mana, and then the fight. So like that one is a very good like. That kind of almost fits with it's a sorcery, right?
Mm-hmm.
You play it as a pump and also as a removal spell, or if it lasts, you can use that as ramp, right? It seems pretty good. One that comes to mind, like a non-specified one, Kiora Behemoth Beckoner. The one for Wars.
Very good.
It's card draw, it's ramp,
mm-hmm.
It's also cheap, and mana cost is very flexible.
Yeah.
That one's great.
What is it, like 3 mana 7 loyalty? Something crazy.
It is 3 mana
like
7 loyalty.
Yeah,
I have played that one
to
enough
untap a permanent, and anytime you cast a creature spell with mana value.
Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, let me pull it up on Scryfall.
We're professionals, we swear.
Right. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So you're also in blue, which means you can blink it, right? Woo!
Oh yeah, it's just ETB. Yeah, you can just make tokens and do this. This is real good, right?
It's any creature, not non-token.
Yeah, this would be a very, very powerful planeswalker to play as commander. Also, notably, these are War of the Spark planeswalkers that are 3 mana that offer immediate effects when they enter the battlefield, and in both cases also accelerate mana. Going a little bit on the analysis of why I think specifically Domri Anarch of Bolas is such a good one is because you already want to be playing turn 1 mana dorks to get this guy out, right?
Mm-hmm.
The play sequence of turn 1 play my Birds of Paradise, into turn 2 cast Domri Anarch of Bolas, uptick, play a Llanowar Elves that is now a 2/1, that trades with whatever just comes to attack me on turn 2.
Very low to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So might not be appealing to a lot of players, but those that are trying to beat face really quickly, fantastic. Foreshadowing, sounds like a really good Oathbreaker commander.
Yes.
We'll circle back. We'll circle back.
We'll circle back. But again, talking about what makes a really good command, and this is consistent, like all commanders. Like if you have a low to the ground commander, something that's able to get online very quickly, that's always something that's very powerful in commander. That is why we talk about Tymna being such a good partner, despite having a fine ability, right? But
you get it down really easily.
Mm-hmm.
The exception to this rule is Tybalt.
Yes.
Because, just want to make sure we noted that Tybalt exists. He can stay in the corner.
He did.
He did die, and it's old news now because it was the last set story. Because now we're in we're in mommy, mom.
We're in extra mommy land.
We're in extra mommy land.
But Jesus, like just being a low mana commander doesn't mean you're good. I mean, we can talk about things like Felden, the 2 mana Felden, or Vran, right? They're not great commanders, but
I've got that 2 mana Felden on my desk right now, and it pains me every time I see it.
Yeah, it's not great.
I want it to be good.
No, that's not allowed. But
Damn it.
But the ones that are like 3 and 4 mana in green, extra good. If you're 3 mana in any other color combination that doesn't involve green, you're in a pretty good spot for starting out, right? You want to get on that, or you need to be something that is much higher mana value, that's harder to hit. Another commander that I think is, or another planeswalker that potentially is a very, very good commander in like 100 card casual commander, maybe not Oathbreaker, we'll get to that in a minute, is the Eternal Wanderer. Because 6 mana comes with a passive ability that makes it so that you can only attack her with 1 creature.
Really good.
A 0 that pumps out two double strikers.
Yeah.
And a minus ability that board wipes. And you pick what sticks around.
So, as addition to that, Elspeth Sun's Champion, also
very good.
Also stupid good, because you uptick to flood the board and protect it, minus to kill everything but pretty much your tokens, and then the ult is an emblem that like pumps up everything.
Gives them +3/+3 and flying, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
might be
I knew it. Elspeth makes emblems for her minuses. I feel like generally.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
I'm not looking at the Elspeths right now. Scryfall can stay on the other tab.
There's a lot of Elspeths that don't, but that's newer printings of Elspeth. Older printings of Elspeth made a lot of emblems.
Okay, not getting on the caveat. I want to go down the rabbit hole later.
Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of options for, and of course exceptions to the rules on how well they have to be able to protect themselves and how well they have to enable your strategy. Not to say that there's not good planeswalkers that can be commanders. They tend to be more of the unofficial ones than the official ones, which is a little weird to me. But they don't
have to build. They don't have to design the non-commander ones with commander in mind. So that's why they're probably stronger, because they don't have to worry about balancing for the command zone. Right. They don't want to make. They would not put Oko in the command zone, even though it's a lot more balanced in Commander, because you have multiple opponents compete it down. Right. But like something like Oko, that power level would not exist.
Right.
Designed that way.
And so now that we've laid out a lot of negatives to Planeswalkers as commanders, the positives of them, potentially just winning games on their own if they can get protected long enough. Let's talk about Oathbreaker, where this is a format that has a specific ban list that keeps a lot of this information in mind, and also has a unique component in the signature spells, which are, in a sense, like having a partner that is a sorcery, an instant or sorcery, right? And it's locked behind having your other one in play, though. You need to have your Oathbreaker in play before you can cast the signature spells. This adds a very interesting dynamic. And once again, reminder to everyone, if you saw this, you heard the intro, you heard the warning on this, we haven't played that much Oathbreaker, but we are doing an analysis here. We have thoughts, they're not good. So,
the actual quote we have on the script here is, "We have thoughts, they're not good." Jason 2023.
Yeah. So, take a brick of salt with you when you talk about this. When you talk about this, but let's give our initial thoughts in building Oathbreaker decks and talking about the format. Is this different enough from EDH?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would
surprisingly.
I would say, despite the 3 significant changes they made to the format that have such a huge impact on how you build. One, obviously, your Oathbreaker as a commander. And the extent signature spell, you can kind of count that as one thing in my mind. 2, 20 life total. You do not have that much life to work with. You don't get to dribble around for very long, which is very interesting given that you have value engine planeswalkers as commanders. And then the third thing is 60 card decks. It was so hard to make cuts for the 60 card decks. I was finding that even on very linear strategies where I'm like, yeah, I don't need that many cards to support this. I was building decks and I have 80 cards and I'm making cuts. Ethan, you know how I build decks, where I'm often under, or I'm only I'm 6 cards off from having a completed commander deck every time I build decks. I'm very good at making cuts as I'm going. So the fact that I'm walking out of this and I'm still saying, yeah, I've got 20 more cuts to make, I don't know what to do. Oh, it's hard.
Yeah, I felt lost. I've built one deck so far, and it's been Tezzeret Match with the Bridge, which is the one from Mortal Spark with the buy box promo. Creatures of Planeswalker spells have affinity for artifacts, and then Uptick is deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of artifacts you control. You gain that much life. -3 is returning artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. -8 exiles top 10 cards of your library, play artifacts. Yeah. I built that, and I'm not as good as Jason about cutting as I go, but usually I'm gonna shoot for a number and then I don't have like 50 cards over I have to cut down like some people in the group, Cameron, because he just throws things into listings like, okay, now we'll cut. I want to try to be good about it and save time later. I was like 80 cards on my desk because I was just putting things together, and I was like, this is hard because I know that the lower life total is going to change how I build things. Having a signature spell in the command zone makes me want to play things differently. It was so challenging to build this thing, and I think my deck sucks.
Yeah, I'll also say my deck I don't think my deck sucks. I know my deck sucks. I built the Bant Tameo Field Researcher. Look, ever since that card's been printed, I've tried to make that card seem good in some way. I've tried to play her in Standard. I tried to play her in Commander. That card is not allowed to be good.
No.
I really want there to be a good option, but nope, she is not allowed to be a good option.
Not at all. This Tezeret's good, but one of the things that to kind of call ahead in reference back to our previous conversation about commanders, mana cost. 6 mana in this format, it feels impossible.
Yeah, so notable differences. This format is fast.
So fast.
Mm-hmm. Like, you can build a lot of people are going to play the slow value grindy decks because the first approach is just, build whatever seems fun to you. You're not immediately going to optimize it. Not everyone's going for competitive Oathbreaker right away, right? But it is surprisingly easy to break this format. And if anything, and this is going to be a little bit of a weird statement, it feels like having a Planeswalker as your commander is to hold back the speed of the format. Mm-hmm. Which is very weird.
I understand that. Like the pod I played in, it was just 2 people on our Discord, which we had weekly game nights. Join our Discord if you want to join us on that.
Yeah.
Plugs. So we had a commander going on pod, and I was playing Oathbreaker with 2 of the people we had. It was a weird Grixis pod. I was playing Tezzeret, Master of the Bridge, which is Dimir. We had Omnixilus, the Adversary.
Yes.
Is that
the
that
Rakdos
one? The Rakdos one on one, and then we had Nicol Dragon God as the third. So it was just Grixis. That was grindy because I was playing against a control deck, but like it was still like life totals mattered so much. Mm-hmm. Like it was a miserable game almost. Like I very much enjoyed it, but it was like I can't get anything to the board at all. Mm-hmm. What was my point I was even making?
Yeah, that one. So there's a lot of dials in how this format is built and balanced. Right? Mm-hmm. They wanted things like traditional creature aggro to be viable. Burn is actually a viable strategy in this format if you wanted to play that. Which is saying something because you got to burn through 60 life total. Like, you can do it, though. It's actually not that difficult.
You have all the cards. It's not like Modern where you only have a certain number of cards. Like, there's a lot of good burn spells in Eternal formats.
Right. And we mentioned that it's faster. Ramp is even more vital here than it would be normally, which is very unusual again, because I mentioned before, we want early commanders that can come down, and these are all value engines. You want your commander to come down quickly and start accruing its value if you're going to be forced into a value game. If you're going to be forced into an aggro game, well, if your commander's part of your aggro strategy, you still just want it down early. So, again, Domrian Arcabolus works very well in this strategy overall. But the other thing was that value ramp is not good. Like,
too slow.
Cultivate is not a good card here.
Makes me sad.
Yeah, it's you want a card like this to be good, but just getting 2 lands it really isn't worth it. It's just too slow, and you just don't have enough space in your deck. Like, you can't play both Cultivate and Kodama's Reach. You can maybe play one, but you definitely can't play both. And with things like Nature's Lore, Rampant Growth, Farseek, Three Visits, right? When I build like a lands commander deck or something like that, I just jam all 4 of them pretty quickly. I maybe cut Rampant Growth because it's the one that always comes into play tapped and doesn't fix my mana. But, or at least doesn't fix it well. And even then, like in this format, no, I don't want any of those. I want my creatures, which similarly, creatures in this format are so important.
Yep.
You need creatures as either your control piece for attacking planeswalkers or to just kill players because they only have 20 life. It's very easy to accrue a board that's large enough to kill people. Also, mentioning on the man, most of the fast ramp, the mana rocks are banned. Like,
except for the ones that give you mana or card disadvantage, Chromox, Mox Diamond, I believe, are unbanned. But like
yes.
Mana Vault, Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, all of those are banned.
Do you think it's good for the format?
I think so. If you just had all this fast mana in, it would just be who had the best draw, and then you play a commander or play a Planeswalker, an Oathbreaker that just like accrues a lot of value. And if you don't have the balance on ramp, a Planeswalker ulti on turn 3 or turn 4, a good one will win the game. Like if you got a turn 1 Narset Transcendent, which its ult says your opponents can't cast non-creature spells, you're the Oathbreaker and the Signature Spell are just completely locked out for all your opponents. That's game over right there. So by banning like Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, you prevent a lot of those non-games from happening. I question why the card disadvantage ones are still allowed, but I guess because the card disadvantage is a faster format, the disadvantage on cards is felt more. It's more of a cost.
Yeah. I would, again, haven't played enough of it. I would rather see the format not have those. Even cards like Mox Amber are not necessarily something I would like to see in this format. Mox Opal, again, that's fine if you go so deep on artifacts that you're able to enable a Mox Opal, go for it. But the other ones, yeah, I probably wouldn't want to see them. But I will say that this obviously leads into the question: is this a good thing? And I think yes.
Yeah, it helps to distinguish the difference between Commander and Oathbreaker, which I think is an important one for like constructing the format. You don't really want to consider like what other people are doing, but for us as players, I want to go into this with a different experience expected, right? I don't want to go play Commander 2 Electric Boogaloo. I want to play something different. Oathbreaker, I feel, is different enough. It is similarities, sure. You have your one thing you're casting from the outside zone, and you're building around that strategy. You own the color identity, but it's different enough towards it's a fresh experience. And I say I would rather play X or Y at this certain time.
Right.
So, I think it's a great thing.
And there's one particular card on the ban list that I look at and I just I clap my hands because I'm so happy that this is the type of experience that the Oathbreaker Rules Committee or whatever they're called is exactly they're trying to create. Dark Ritual is banned in Oathbreaker. Now, Dark Ritual in Casual Commander is a horribly underplayed card. Nobody plays Dark Ritual in Casual Commander for some reason.
Because card advantage is king in Casual Commander.
Right.
And you're using a ritual to not gain card advantage.
Right. That's the perspective on it, right? Like, I would much rather have a rock in play. It was like, yeah, or would you rather have the spell that you care about a turn earlier? You know, would you rather have a Fellwar Stone or would you rather have a Dark Ritual that plays your Bolas' Citadel on turn 4? Like...
Jason, stop convincing me to make bad decisions in my life on this damn podcast.
Just saying.
I want to lose all my friends.
Just saying, right? And that's from the power perspective. Of course, obviously, if you're trying to do something that's a little bit slower, I completely understand the choice to play a rock then. But for a format philosophy perspective, Dark Ritual being banned says a lot to me. It says, we don't want our high-powered commanders coming out too soon. Too quickly. We don't want to enable combo nonsense because you couldn't kill the early black commander, and now their signature spell is Dark Ritual that gets them the storm count they need to do other dumb things, especially because if you go Dark Ritual signature, and it's your signature spell, you cast it the first time, and then you cast Dark Ritual using the mana that it just created, that's 2 free storm. And you still netted mana in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dark Ritual's a very, very powerful card here. And it tells me that they're really paying attention to power level based bans and abuse of the strategy, which is not what the Commander Rules Committee does. Commander is not banned based on power level things. It's very rare that they do it. It's really based on the play environment. That's why Iona is banned, even though I don't think that card's broken at all.
Mm-hmm.
That said, there are some other things on the Oathbreaker ban list that I just question immensely.
All right. Throw them out.
Why is Biorhythm banned here?
I agree on that one. Biorhythm. Jason, would you like to read Biorhythm for our listening viewers, just in case they don't know?
Yeah, all right, so Biorhythm is a 8 mana sorcery in mono green where each player's life total becomes equal to the number of creatures he or she controls. That's it.
8 mana is a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm questioning the 6 mana Planeswalker as my Oathbreaker is too much. So 8 mana for that's too much. Expropriate is kind of in that same vein. I don't think you're ramping out to Expropriate that fast, but also we are in a faster play environment where these cards aren't be good. If you're playing a very slow play environment, these cards could just win a game out of nowhere.
Now,
some of these are just kind of obvious.
To be fair, I will give Expropriate actually wins the game more than likely if you have that as your signature spell and you are able to protect your commander for a single turn and then you go and you just Expropriate. You're probably going to win because you get to ultimate right away. Because people aren't going to give you all of their permanents in the early game. They don't give you your permanents in the late game either. People are greedy about Expropriates, but there's also Doomsday's banned. Sure, that's fine by me. Channel's banned. That makes a lot of sense to me. Channel's already a very, very powerful card. We do not need it as your signature spell. High Tide is banned, which again we're paying a lot of attention to Storm. Yeah, I mean it's kind of necessary. Jeweled Lotus ban card. Again, that makes sense to me. And it's very clear to me that a lot of this is based on the commander ban list. Some of the cards on here, okay. So, why is Painter Servant banned?
I went through the archives they have on their site, on the Oathbreaker's official site, oathbreakerntg.org, and I saw them talk about it at one point. I didn't really look too much into it. They tested it. They thought it was too much. Panoptic Mirror was banned at one point. They unbanned that. Because I thought that combo was too slow. But I'm not sure how Painter Servant is too fast. I can try to start just digging through and try to find out if you want. But
yeah, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, not worth it. I think that unless you're untapping a lot, which is kind of hard to ask. I guess the thing that maybe it's too good about is there's no mana color requirement. It can just be ubiquitous to the format, which is more of a commander banning thing, right? When something is too good and it's ubiquitous and it's just that is what you do, they want deck diversity more so than strong cards, so they're going to ban things like that. Golos, it was ubiquitous. You would play that as your lands commander, or your 5-click painter goes just the best thing to be doing. Painter Servant might just be the best thing, even though I think I just feel like it's kind of slow. Because it's 6 mana total to 2 Painter Servant, 1 Grindstone, 3 Deathbait Grindstone, and then the next turn you got to do another 3.
Yeah, and then another card that's on this list that I think, I think this is overall, you hit the nail on the head there in the perspective, but also this is a card that a lot of people advocate for unbanning in Casual Commander, and I kind of disagree with it in Casual Commander, but or disagree with unbanning it, but I question why it's banned here. It's, actually both. Sundering Titan and Sylvan Primordial.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
It's
they're so high a mana cost. It's
you don't have space in your deck for these when you build Oathbreaker. You, this is your top-end creature. You get, 2 top-end creatures in your deck in Oathbreaker.
I guess maybe because you can dig through your deck a lot quicker and there's less one-ofs. Since your deck's smaller, it's more consistent on finding these, is maybe the thing. And if you build a mono green only ramp deck,
Right.
like, we did talk about how ramp's not good, but if you just build your deck to literally just only ramp and then play big game-ending spell, I could see these potentially being a problem. But these cards, like, cool, they destroy a thing. So in Sundering Titan's case, destroying one of every land, you're probably playing mono green.
Yep.
Because you're just trying to ramp it out, or colorless if you want to go spicy with it, and so you're not losing your lands really. And then Silver Primordial, you're destroying 3 lands probably.
Right.
You can still come back from that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things on here that I understand, but I'm a little bit questioning of. Like Adnaz being on here makes sense. Balance being on here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, balance is largely miserable. I understand. I wanted to play it if it was available, but no. Tooth and Nail's also a weird one for me because, again, it's so much mana to make this happen. And obviously there's the perspective of it doesn't have to be your signature spell, so, Tooth and Nail's still just a solid card, but
Yeah.
I mean, if Flash is legal in this format, and it is, I don't think Tooth and Nail's a bigger problem. The only thing holding back Flash decks in this format is the presence of, or rather, the lack of great blue-green Planeswalker commanders. Like, you've got solid options, for sure.
You have Kiora. I think Oko potentially could be good. It's not near as good as it is in, like, Vintage, because that's where you can play that one.
Yeah, you got a couple of Tamios you can play. You've got options, but realistically, and this is the big thing, you really want black in there as well. And legitimately, is there a Sultai commander in this format?
Is there a Sultai Planeswalker?
I don't believe so, no.
Un momento, por favor. Scryfall Plains.
So, without a Sultai Planeswalker, your only other option for getting the Sultai color pairing in there is to play Jared Carthalion, who is... That's quite a bit slower, and realistically, that's a point where you just want to generate 7 mana to do your thing, but if you have 7 mana and your Hulk in your hand, you might as well just play Flash Hulk. So, like...
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
It's just a little bit questionable. Not necessarily bad, but a little questionable, right?
Yeah. I don't think there's a Sultai. That's really interesting. There's not a Sultai Planeswalker?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, no. You can, and again, you can do Sultai, or you can do Flash Hulk combos without needing to be in black. You can do it in just blue-green. Or you can go into 3 colors. You can play Sarkhan, for example. Sarkhan the Unbroken and Teamer. You can play Estrid if you wanted to do something in Bant. You have options, but you don't have the best option, which is interesting.
I never thought about that. That is so... There's like one for like most other color combos. It's just like not that one. Huh.
Yeah. So, basic thoughts on Oathbreaker. How would you summarize your feelings of the format?
Summarize? That's hard. I think it's cool. I think it's a unique spin on a already kind of accepted structure for the games. I think it's a nice take on it. It makes for quicker games, which I'm all for, because a lot of these games, especially when I usually play when we record now, right? Those games take forever.
Yeah. 2-hour games are a bit much.
Yeah, for a game taking half an hour, sign me up. It's different design space, it's different rule, like it's different ban list, which makes different unique deck building choices. It's different enough to where it's fresh. And you also can play Shorakai Genesis Engine as your Oathbreaker. So, like, that's the best one, right?
Okay. To explain this, actually, due to a slight overlook in the rules or something along those lines,
Well,
yes.
it's a quirk. I'd say it's a quirk.
Yeah, it's a quirk in how the Oathbreaker rules work. Oathbreaker has a rule that states that anything that references your commander is now referencing your Oathbreaker. That's why a card like Command Tower actually works, in the format. But that also meant that Shurikai, which is the only non-Planeswalker card that has the text can be played as your commander, at least the legal ones, because I believe you can play one of the machines from not Unfinity,
Are uncards
Unstable,
legal?
from Unstable or something like that.
Are uncards legal?
No, they're not. But either
Yeah.
way, the important thing is Shurikai has the text, can be played as your commander, and therefore can be played as your Oathbreaker. So it is the only non-Planeswalker that you can play as your Oathbreaker.
And I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's a neat one.
It's super cool. There's a lot of cool stuff in this format too. Like I from the games I kind of played, you know, I forgot I played against Cameron 1-on-1 with his Xenagos Rebels deck, the Green and Storm one that was on our Oathbreaker video. Check that out if you haven't watched it yet. Decimated me. Played 5 games in a row. Took about 20 minutes and I lost every single one. That card, like some of the combos you get are nutty. The games we played on our Discord, Omnixilus, the Adversary, and Runeplayer Trap. Essentially, he was just playing big creatures, sack them, make a big ol' Ob, immediately -7 it, make someone draw 7 cards, then Runeplayer Trap them immediately after to like just one-shot them. Cool stuff. Elder Spell, stupid card. That's one card I'm like wondering, why is this legal? Because it's just, I have my Oathbreaker out and I could potentially win the game. Again, I trust the RC for this format to have made decisions and to skew it in a way, but it's just like seems questionable, right? But there's a lot of cool deck building opportunities here.
Yeah,
and I'm really excited to see like the creativity that the community can bring to this.
Yeah, and there's definitely very cool combinations and things that you've seen. Like, I never considered Xenagos the Reveler as a Storm commander.
I didn't either.
Cameron
blew me away on that one.
Yeah, no, that legitimately blew my mind when I saw that. I was like, oh, yeah, this is creature-based Storm. You can do that here. That's really, really cool, and it's very reasonable. Even within just our video, Aminato overperformed. Vivian Monster's Advocate overperformed just as a solo piece because it was able to protect itself and provide the advantage that you wanted so easily. It was just Tamiyo Field Researcher who did not perform, which is part of the reason why I want to explore this format more, because I think there's more fun things. I just made a bad combination because I chose a bad commander. I just need to see more of the format to figure that out.
Yeah.
That said, there are a couple of problem commanders or problem combinations that I've already noted, or I've already noticed that I think will probably need to be addressed, especially now that it has more popularity to it, which is the original Kaito Shizuki and Demonic Consultation. Or not Demonic Consultation, Tainted Pact. Because I believe, is Demonic Consultation legal in this format? Oh, never mind, you can do Demonic Consultation, yeah.
Kaito Shizuki. What does this one do?
He phases out the turn he comes in.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter what other text Kaito has on him. He's just a 3-mana blue-black Planeswalker.
So you just cast... Yeah, okay.
You just cast him, and then nobody can interact with him until your next turn when you get to untap and do your thing, where now you just get to have Demonic Consultation plus Thassa's Oracle and win. Right? This is a very easy way to win on turn 4. So yeah, Kaito's like... That's a legitimately problematic one to potentially have to worry about.
I never noticed that one.
The other one that came to my attention is Tyvar Kell, the new one. I think is his name Jubilant Brawler, I think? 3-mana Kaito in green-black that makes it so that all of your creatures with activated abilities can activate them as though they have haste, and has a minus ability to return a creature from your graveyard.
I haven't seen some lists for that one pop up.
Yeah. If you play Tyvar Kell with Entomb, you can guarantee a Hermit Druid as early as turn 2.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
Hermit Druid.
I know Wrenn 6 has been like a big one that people have been brewing around because Wrenn 6 crop rotation's insane.
Again, notice it's the really low mana value ones are the ones we're talking about here.
Yeah. Again, like I'm considering. So again, back on this Tezzeret, I thought casted my signature spell. I've never cast this once, and it is too much to ask to play this, have it sit around a turn, and then start casting this. Not cast. So I'm considering switching to the 4-mana Dimir. Sorry, one of the 4-mana Dimir Tezzerets, the bad one, the Schemer, because you don't need to know text. It's bad, but
Or Agent of
Just
Bolus,
because
whatever.
it gets down sooner. So like it'd be better than this one.
Right. So it seems like the mana value of the commander matters even more here than it does elsewhere. Again, we do tend to play with a little bit more of sweaty games. It's fine. So our perspective is a little bit skewed on this. But at the same time, yeah, there's definitely some things that are not balanced in this format that are going to need to be addressed. But overall, I think this is a good format. I think it's a step in the right direction for at least how they're handling the philosophy of the format seems to be a little bit better. Although I did, someone will have to triple check me on this one because I checked and thought it was a little bit weird. Companions are not allowed in this format.
I've seen some people talking on Twitter like asking for it too, but most companions wouldn't work.
Yes. Lucher would
but,
still need to be
like,
banned.
Lucher would still need to be banned. So people just want to play the Otter, but they don't need to play the Otter because then it's, again, deck homogeneity, ubiquity, whatever fun word you want to throw in there. So probably best that they don't have that on there, but who knows what they'll do.
I'm sorry, Lutri is dead. She was never allowed to live.
It's just so cute, man.
It is
it's
an
just
adorable
so cute.
otter. But yeah, that pretty much sums up our thoughts on it. I'm going to keep exploring this format a little bit more. Unfortunately, due to scheduling restrictions with just recording for the channel, I'm probably not going to have a ton of time to explore it more. But we're thinking of doing a little bit more Oathbreaker content here and there, and trying to get it in like one game every 3 months or something like that for the channel.
I'd like to be more, but just with with our editing schedule and our recording schedule and life, life, it's a little bit hard to skew from what we already have going on with different collabs we're trying to play in and just getting set release content. So,
and also for all 5 of you who just heard that, keep in mind 3 months actually is not that insane of a schedule for us because it's been over 3 months since our last CDH video. It's been about 3
Has it
months
really been that long?
Yeah, it's been almost 3 months since our last CDH video. So like
that was with Sadnaz, right? That was Sadnaz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I played Jessica, a Planeswalker commander, in that video. Check that one out.
Yeah,
plugs, baby.
So yeah, keep in mind, it sometimes just does take us 3 months to get back to it because with set releases and everything, we try, but we can't always do it. We also just want regular games of Commander because, hi, we play Commander. It's a fun format. Have you heard of it?
If you haven't by now, what have you been listening to the past hour and a half?
Exactly. And thank you all once again for watching another episode of the Wrinkly Brain Podcast. If you'd like to see edited gameplay video, head over to our main channel, Smooth Brain EDH. If you caught our April Fool's video, I'm sorry. I hope that the other video was going. The other videos appreciated. It hasn't gone up for us quite yet. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out, give us a comment. Let us know what you think. And if you'd like to talk to us directly, feel free to join our Discord, or if you're interested in supporting us financially, you can head over to our Patreon, check out our merch on Redbubble. If you go onto our main channel, Smooth Brain EDH, we also have a store that's available on the YouTube channel itself, so like you can just go click on a video and see our official merch available there. So that's an easy way if you don't want to worry about getting caught by scammers or anything like that. And of course, all these links are directly in the description or in our link tree. So this has been Jason and Ethan. Thank you all very much for watching, and have a great day.